low-quality fans of a high-quality playoff team, whomever that playoff team may be. Welcome back. We're doing another series preview. This time, the Kings and the Oilers, which is far different from years past. It's an interesting one. But before we get too far into it, make sure you check out the bracket challenge below. Win a free jersey. Also, a couple quick things about these previews. First of all, I focus far more on the 3 or so months leading up to the playoffs. Most of the data I'll be using will be focused on that. I think it gives a better snapshot of where a team is in most cases. The advanced analytics are from naturalstattrick.com, unless I specifically say otherwise. Home ice means next to nothing for me outside of extreme cases like the Canes. And then, of course, the predictions at the end are more for funsies than math, but I'll go over that when we get there. So let's talk about this Oilers-Kings series from the perspective of a diehard Canucks fan. This is such a fun bit for me. Either way, the lead up to the playoffs, the Kings host a somewhat hobbling Oilers team after going 3-1-0 against them this year while holding Edmonton to just 4 goals in 4 meetings, 3 of which came in 1 game. You'd feel pretty confident if you were the Kings had you not had the 3 previous seasons as evidence that playoff series against this Oilers team is difficult. It's difficult. Look, I get it. 3 years, 3 series losses, each series ending a game shorter than the last, but this is not the same Kings team of years prior. I think everybody knows that at this point. What many of us expected was a Kings team that would be of the stingiest make, but would struggle to score. And we got one thing right. This team came out the womb shutting down teams through the neutral zone and in the defensive zone. Ranking as a top 5 defense through the first 3 months, despite not having Doughty, but also ranking 12th in goals scored per game, despite a terrible power play. Who would have thunk it? Not me. Not me. Virtually nothing would change through the season. In the final 10 weeks with a mostly healthy squad, the Kings ranked 8th in goals scored per game, 4th in goals allowed, 20th on the power play, and 9th on a penalty kill. Consistency matters. And this team was consistent. The my problem for your problem off-season swap of Pierre-Luc Dubois to the Caps for Darcy Kemper the other way to the Kings was astonishingly good. It was an astonishing deal. Honestly, it was astonishing from the Caps end, in my opinion, just because you were taking a bigger contract, longer contract for a player that just seemed like a problem everywhere he went. But still a surprising deal on both ends. It just worked out so well for both of them. Both of them, but we'll get to the Caps in another video. Kemper finishes the season with 50 games played, a .922 save percentage, ranking 3rd, and a 2.02 goals allowed average, ranking 2nd in the league. Someone can argue that's unlikely to continue, but he's done it all year, and the Kings rank 2nd in the league in chance suppression since February 1st at 5-on-5, so it's not like they're relying on hot goaltending. Kemper's been very good, but so is the defense in front of him. And I know that there's the goals save above expected and all that stuff, but oftentimes a goaltender who's behind a great defensive system is going to have better numbers. Duh! But that also does include advanced analytics. Once in a while, those different stats do tell a different story of, wow, this goalie is really benefiting from a defense and isn't actually that talented. But for the most part, they're going to go hand in hand. A goaltender feels good. He's seeing shots well. The defense is playing well in front of him. Those stats are going to reflect that both are great. Kemper is benefiting from a great defense. He's also playing very well, though, and deserves credit for that, and is certainly playing at a level, certainly, of a cup-contending goaltender. Absolutely he is. If you want to get nitpicky about this Kings team, since February 1st, the Kings are outscoring their problems, or their projections, I should say, not problems. They don't really have problems. They're outscoring their projections by about 13% at 5-on-5. And allowing about 17% less goals at 5-on-5. The defense has basically been doing that all year, but it's a pretty drastic change of script for the offense. That was lagging behind their expected goals by a fairly large margin through the first 3 months. I'd expect the offense to start coming back to their average soon, but as long as it doesn't go completely cold, this is a very well-rounded, deep, dangerous, and mostly healthy team. The Kings should feel very good better than the last 3 years about going into this series. And I'm about to tell you more of why, because it's time to talk about the Oilers a little bit. You'd think the Oilers would come in feeling very confident, even with the series season not going their way. But this Oilers team that brought in a few depth offensive options, making some of us, me, gotta make sure I'm in the camera, making some of us believe that their offense would be the closest thing we've ever seen to unstoppable on ice. And it is not looked that way at all. I mean, the season started fine though, not good. Even through some injury issues, they sat 9th in the league as of January 1st. They had the 9th best offense, the 13th ranked power play, 9th in goals allowed, and an unsurprisingly 24th ranked penalty kill. The goaltending was bad, as it always seems to be to start the year in Edmonton, ranking 22nd in team save percentage up till January 1st, but we all shrugged our shoulders, right? All of us pretty much did, threw out the idea of a record-breaking offense, of course, but we waited to see them fly up the standings on a rebound couple of months. The rebound never came. It really didn't. Now, injuries played a role for you Edmonton fans. I'm not going to pretend that you guys had an easy-breezy season. No, you were one of the teams that were closer to a season from hell than you were towards the league average in injuries. But even with that taken into consideration, through the final 10 weeks, the Oilers just weren't what they needed to be. They ranked 21st in goals scored per game, with McDavid and Draisaitl on the team. Now, McDavid missed some time, so did Draisaitl for a couple of games. But again, injuries played a role. Still, 21st? Not great. 18th in goals allowed. The power play was 17th in the league, ridiculously low given their history and talent. And the penalty kill sat 15th. The goaltending didn't turn itself around. Through that stretch, they had a team save percentage of sub 890. Not great. It's just not going to get the job done. And of course, like I said, McDavid missed some time. Draisaitl missed some time. Ekholm, Hyman, and Wallman also missed time. Most of these guys will be available game one. How healthy they'll truly be is up for a healthy amount of debate. I'm sure we'll find out at season's end, especially if they have a quick ending to their year. As much as I think special teams play a role in this series, the real trick is going to be what can the Oilers bring at 5-on-5. No playoff team other than the Wild have worse 5-on-5 results through the last 2.5 months. Edmonton has allowed 73 goals at 5-on-5 through that stretch and only scored 55. A goals for percentage of 43%. Not good enough. The good news is the results are a far cry from their actual chance creation. Their expected goals for percentage sits right around 53%, good enough for 7th in the playoff field, directly behind the Kings. Expectations are great, though, but they need to actually do that to get out of this series. We talked in several different previews about expectations and how many teams are outperforming their expectations. Right? And this little red flags, small, little orange flags, nothing crazy, but just, we'll keep this in mind. They're really overperforming here, and some of them have been overperforming all season, so you're kind of like, that's probably going to continue, right? And then others, it's very much more well, they've had 6 weeks of looking really, really good, but can they keep that going? Did they peak too early? Bruins fans know that conversation for sure. But at the end of the day, I feel a lot better about a team that's overperforming going into the playoffs than one that's underperforming, especially at this level. I would expect to bounce back soon. I really would. But how soon matters. And soon needs to be right now, by the way. They ranked 30th in the league over the last 10 weeks at 5-on-5 shooting percentage. 30th. Now, look, that's not a hugely talented team. But there's a few guys who should be doing some major lifting on those percentiles that just aren't doing enough there. Of course, a huge part of this poor stretch is also goaltending, where Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard are underwater, particularly Skinner. But at 5-on-5, the team save percentage under 89%, the only playoff team worse since February 1st, the Capitals. Which, actually, I think that preview comes out after this one. We'll talk about it. Red flags all over this bish. It ain't good. The important factors of the series, because I was really negative about the Oilers, but let's talk about a couple other things that might make them feel better. This first one's not going to. Immovable object meets the unstoppable force. At least that's what it was in years prior. The Kings always had a great defense. The Oilers always had a great offense. All the numbers from recent play tell the story that's closer to the immovable object feels a water balloon splash against it. and shrugs it off, right? The Oilers' offense has to get going, both at 5-on-5 and the power play. The shooting percentage has to increase. And even if they do, though, if LA's recent offensive explosion, their offensive splooge, continues, then the Oilers simply won't have the defense to contain them well enough to let the advantages of their offense actually shine through. Like, it just won't work. Add in that the Kings have a top 9 that can all play, like all 3 lines can play the role of shutting down the opponent's best players. I understand that no one can actually shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, but to just lessen their impact a little, their top 9, and then Edmonton's, which we thought was going to be very deep but hasn't performed that way, and of course still has injuries going into the playoffs, it's not even in comparison. The depth on the Kings side is an overwhelming advantage, especially if McDavid isn't 100%. Especially. Also, you add in that the top 4 for the Kings could be considered the league's best when it comes to actual defensive ability. I'm not going to say that they are the best top 4 defensively, or of defense, I should say, because I would still put Vegas above them. But when it comes to, hey, these guys just purely shut down other teams, you could consider them the best. I mean, the best unit in the league. That's how good they are at actually defending, at actually keeping pucks out of the net. The unstoppable force has to truly be unstoppable during the seasons. They have to truly be unstoppable to win this. And they just look anything but. And the Kings do look like an immovable object through and through. Another important factor here is the Darnell Nurse factor. And I kind of put / Ekholm's injury because Ekholm is very likely not going to see this series. I think it's already been confirmed he's not going to be in round 1, but we'll put it as very unlikely. The story of the Oilers last year, though, or one of them, was how unplayable Darnell Nurse was in the playoffs. If he has a half-decent playoff run, or even more specifically, a half-decent finals, then they probably lift the cup that year, right? I don't want to say they would because ifs and buts, candies and nuts, but you still kind of go, Nurse was a huge part of them losing. He's been much improved this year. I mean, significantly so. He's been very, very good for large stretches of the season. But with Ekholm unlikely to come back, they really need him to be a $9 million defender, which shouldn't be too much to ask considering that's just about what they're paying him, right? We know that he wasn't worth that. Or I guess we've just never seen him maybe ever play at a $9 million defender level. He has to win his matchups, and he has to win his matchups soundly to give the Oilers a chance, which he's been doing, by the way, in the regular season. His numbers are very good from an individual standpoint. They're going to have to continue to be so. And there's a lot of people who have very little to no faith that they will be what they need to be. And again, just the defensive core in general has to be really good, led by Darnell Nurse. Bouchard's not a defensive mastermind. In fact, he's more well known for making the big mistake when times are toughest. But offensively, there are few defensemen in the league that you would even put on his level. But, I mean, maybe 2 of them passed him offensively. So there's definitely some talent back there. It's just going to really all come together. The last big point that I want to make about this series is McDavid and Draisaitl versus Stuart Skinner. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. No matter how good the Kings have been defensively, the combination of McDavid and Draisaitl have still demolished them. I mean, they have incredible numbers through the last 3 series that they've played. Just unbelievable amounts of scoring talent between the 2 of them, and they eat the Kings alive. Now, they haven't during the regular season this year, and it looks like they're going to have to face fresh bodies the entire series. As fresh as you can be in the playoffs, but the Kings will truly roll their lines, and if McDavid and Draisaitl are being paired together on a line, and they meet up with, say, they're going to do top line versus top line. If that top line starts to cave a little bit for the Kings, and they start to get tired, they can't keep up with McDavid, well, here's the second line, who are also incredible at defending. Oh, that's not what, here's the third line, also exceptional defending forwards. Basically, McDavid and Draisaitl have to go nuclear, right, to give themselves a chance in this series. They'll have to do even more than that, probably, though, because Stuart Skinner or Calvin Burkhardt, whoever ends up playing the majority of the series, which right now I'm not even super sure about. It's been so bad that you kind of wonder if McDavid and Draisaitl being their very best, the pinnacle of the players they can be, is enough to overcome bad goaltending on the other end. Even if the Kings slow down the outscoring their projections by the amount that they're at, is the goaltending gonna hold well enough to allow McDavid and Draisaitl to have a chance to win the series? Because it's really McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse, and Bouchard. They will win or this series for the Oilers, or someone else is going to lose it for the Oilers. Like, it's likely not going to be one of their faults. You could definitely jump on the Darnell Nurse hate train, but he's just been really good over the past couple months. You're hoping that continues. I'm hoping it continues because I'm hoping for a good series, because I've really enjoyed these series when these two teams played. My prediction? Look, if I cared about being right, I'd go Kings in 6, but I'm a bona fide Kings hater. I've been a bona fide Kings hater so long, I can't even remember why I started hating them in the first place. So if you ask me why I hate the Kings, you're probably getting a new reason every time you ask. Oilers in 7, baby. Let's ride. And of course, here at the end of the video, I love to give some shout outs to the fantastic high quality inspectors who help support the channel and keep this running. I super appreciate every single one of you, from the role player tier, the top line tier, and of course the all-star tier. We are going to do our shout outs for this top line tier. Thank you so much to Sean Kreider, Michael Kamara, Chris and Erica, Kevin Timperley, Quackin' Platypus, JM, Smoke Channels, Shaggy, Adam Ella, Albert Waldron, Negev79, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland22, GD Viperworks, Len Kreutz, Brock Nope, Hans Slobo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Your top line material. But now we got to move on to our all-star tier members, the absolute legends. We have Jacob Pratt, Jake Brower, Dampen, JG's 12, Mark S., Ann Hustis, Tim R., Lorenzo Wood, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Joel, Stealthy Potato, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tukton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Dutes42, and Jeremy. Thank you all for all of the support and love that you are all giving. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, go Bees!